Hi, my name is Taylor Lawler and this is my reflection video on my counselling video. Um, the first skill I'll be discussing today is attending. Attending is a micro-counselling skill that has been demonstrated throughout the whole of the interview. It refers to the active listening skills which are demonstrated in an attempt to understand everything the client is trying to say. MOS 2017 highlights that this ranges from what a person is trying to say with their chosen words to what they don't say and instead express through their body and facial expressions. A useful framework that Midwinter and Dixon 2010 address for checking how we are attending is SOLAR. This acronym stands for sitting squarely to the client, maintaining an open posture where your arms and legs are not crossed, leaning an appropriate distance forward, maintaining an appropriate amount of eye contact, as well as being relaxed in effort to produce a mirrored response by the client. Despite being a little bit nervous, which is demonstrated by my attempt to do small talk at the start of the interview, I effectively implement these skills throughout my video to make my partner know that I am 100% focused on her and what she's saying. Another skill I demonstrated to show that I was listening and understanding what was being said was nodding my head. Nodding my head is a non-verbal active listening technique that MOS 2017 addresses in his book, which encourages the client to continue talking and informs them that I understand what is being said without actually interrupting them, unlike verbal cues. I particularly try to use this skill because I believe that by using verbal cues such as and yep, it kind of distracts a person's frame or their thought process, and it can also give the impression that they're talking too much. So just by nodding and smiling at the person, I think that is a good enough cue for them to continue talking, and I tried to implement this throughout the majority of my conversation, especially during periods of times where my partner was talking for quite a while about everything she's feeling, and because I don't want to disrupt her what she's saying. Reflection of feeling is another micro-counselling skill that I attempted to implement in this video. Gildard and Fu 2017 addresses that in order to build trust with our client, we must reflect the right type of feeling and intensity. I tried to implement this theory in my video at the 2-minute and 56-second mark by saying, "Wow, that really seems like there's a lot going on," in a tone that reflected how my partner was feeling or how I interpreted the situation. By doing this, it showed my partner that I was listening to what she was saying verbally as well as what she was expressing with her body language, tone of voice, etc., all of the attending skills. And it also showed her that I was trying to interpret what she was saying, and that because she was frustrated and because she felt this particular way, I also understood what she felt because it was a lot going on. I also attempted to reflect my partner's feelings by saying phrases like, "I completely understand where you're coming from," and "I sense a lot of frustration." Both of these phrases allowed me to address the emotion directly, and there was times in the interview where, because she did talk for so long and she didn't actually say "I feel frustrated," she would just talk about everything that's happening. So by me going, "I can sense a lot of frustration, this is demonstrated by your tone of voice and facial expression and your body actions," it shows her that I was actually really trying to interpret what she was listening or what she was saying, and that I was listening to what she was saying. And it kind of builds a therapeutic relationship that way, because she can see the effort I'm going through to actually understand what she's saying. By identifying this type of emotion by what she's expressing outside of what she's saying, it also allows me to address this particular emotion to her, which she might not actually know that she feels. She could be explaining the situation, acting like frustrated, but not actually realize she is frustrated. So it kind of gives me, she's not consciously aware of it. So it allows me to bring light to the feeling just in case. I also attempted to incorporate my own personal experiences to try and relate to my partner that, hey, this is normal people go through this, I'm going through this, you're going through this, and it's okay that you feel this particular way. It kind of normalizes the feelings that she has experienced and allows her to accept that she feels this way and to move on from it. So it kind of allows her to go, this has happened, people feel this way as well, what can I do next? And I think that's something that I would discuss in the next session with her. Reflection of content is another micro skill that I've attempted to utilize in this video. The purpose of reflecting content is to show the client you are understanding what they're trying to say. This can be done through paraphrasing or through summarizing. Prior to my interview starting, I summarized to my client what was said last time. So at the 56-second mark, I said, last week you discussed that you were just stressed about work. Would you like to continue on with this, or is there something else on your mind? This shows that I remember what was being said, and it kind of gives a little alleyway of, do you want to continue talking about this, or is there something else on your mind? I've also did a summary at the end to let her know that I did listen to everything that was being said throughout the interview. Because there was so many elements, I found that my summary could do with some improving, but that's just something I will learn with further experience. What I did do throughout the interview to reflect the content that was being said was do little paraphrases. So I would say, okay, so you've just spoken to me about your uni, work, hockey, and then I would ask a question, which is something that I really tried to implement in this video. Now talk about questions now through probing. In my previous interviews with my partner, I tended to just ask the question immediately, and there is some situations in this video where I did do that as well, but I did try to do a little bit more of a reflection of feeling or a reflection of thought prior to asking the question. The whole purpose of probing is to try and ask open questions to initiate a deeper understanding for the client. Once looking at the videos, I kind of noticed that I do ask questions that are quite leading and quite closed. Therefore, to improve this, I need to ask more open-ended questions. I was extremely fortunate with my partner because she was able to talk quite a bit, and however, if I had a client who was hard to communicate with, me asking the type of questions I wouldn't stimulate a deeper understanding for that person nor myself. So it's something that I definitely need to improve on in the future. The last thing I would like to address is challenging. I would have really liked to challenge, and at the 5-minute and 47-second mark, I saw an opportunity to do that at the time. However, I just didn't get my wording right. Now looking back at the situation, I see that how I could have really phrased the question instead of saying, you've mentioned that you're stressed with work and that it's a lot of negatives, like what are some positives? Like instead of doing that, what I could say was, from what you're telling me, you've planned really effectively, but perhaps your destructive thinking around the completion of your assignment, and then that's how I should phrase it next time. I should do it so it kind of gets her to go, oh, maybe it's not the element that I think that the problem is. Maybe instead it's my mind frame about completing their assignment, and it kind of dives into a deeper thought process and reflection of emotion, which I would have really liked to have achieved in my interview, but I think due to being a little bit nervous and due to not completely being confident in my ability to do counselling, I didn't get to achieve this. And yeah, thank you.